Have you heard?
It's all the rage.
The wit, the sense, the
jokes.
I chortled.
I guffawed.
I laughed until I choked.
Put down your cell phone, turn off the Xbox, just for a short while, and join us for something your great-grandmother might have laughed at, or perhaps blushed at, From famous authors to long-lost gems, Edwardian Entertainments explores the short stories of a past century, wherever they may be found. Tonight we bring you a tale from the pen of Saki, H.H. Munro, called Down Pens.
Have you written to thank the Froplinsons for what they sent us?
No. I've written 11 letters today, expressing surprise and gratitude for sundry unmerited gifts, but I haven't written to the Froplinsons.
Someone will have to write to them.
I don't dispute the necessity, but I don't think the someone should be me. I wouldn't mind writing a letter of angry recrimination or heartless satire to some suitable recipient. In fact, I should rather enjoy it. But I've come to the end of my capacity for expressing servile amiability. 11 letters today and 9 yesterday, all coached in the same strain of ecstatic thankfulness. Really, you can't expect me to sit down to another. There is such thing as writing oneself out.
I've written nearly as many, and I've had my usual business correspondence to get through too. Besides, I don't even know what the Froplinsons sent us.
A William the Conqueror calendar, with a quotation of one of his greatest thoughts for every day in the year.
Impossible. He didn't have 365 thoughts in the whole of his life, or if he did, he kept them to himself. He was a man of action, not introspection.
Well, it was William Wordsworth, then. I know William came into it somewhere.
That sounds more probable. Well, let's collaborate on this letter of thanks and get it done. I'll dictate and you can scribble it down. Dear Mrs. Froplinson, thank you and your husband so much for the very pretty calendar you sent us. It was very good of you to think of us.
You can't possibly say that.
Is what I always do say, and what everyone says to me.
We sent them something on the 22nd, so they simply had to think of us. There's no getting away from it.
What did we send them?
Bridge markers, with some inanity about digging for fortune with a royal spade, emblazoned on the cover.
But you did take time to think.
Only the amount of time it took to walk into a shop, say how much, and when the clerk said 9p, I gave him their address, jabbed our card in, paid the postage, and thanked heaven.
Wait, the Froplinsons don't even play bridge.
One is not supposed to notice social deformities of that sort. It is not polite. Besides, what trouble did they take to find out if we read Wordsworth with gladness? All they knew or cared, we might be frantically embedded in the belief that all poetry begins and ends with John Masefield, and it might infuriate or depress us to have a daily sample of Wordsworth flung at us.
Well, let's get on with this letter of thanks.
Proceed.
How clever of you to guess that Wordsworth is our favourite poet.
Do you realize what that could mean?
No.
A Wordsworth booklet next Christmas, and another calendar the year after, with the same problem of having to write a suitable letter of thankfulness.
Ugh.
No. The best idea is to drop off all further allusion to the calendar and to switch off onto some other topic.
But what other topic?
Oh, something like, what do you think of the New Year's honours list? A friend of ours made such a clever remark when he read it. Then you can stick in anything that comes into your head. It needn't actually be clever. The Froplinsons certainly won't know whether it is or not.
We don't even know on which side they are in politics. And anyhow, you can't suddenly dismiss the subject of the calendar. Surely there must be some intelligent remark that can be made about it?
Well, we can't think of one. The fact is, we've written both of ourselves out. Heavens! I've just remembered Mrs. Lutbury. I haven't thanked her for what she sent.
What did she send?
I forget. I think it was a calendar.
There. Aha! Make room. I want to write.
Gladly. Are you going to write to Mrs. Ludbury or the Froplinsons?
Neither.
Oh.
I'm going to write to the editor of every enlightened and influential newspaper in the kingdom.
But they didn't send us calendars.
I'm going to suggest that there should be some sort of epistolary truce during the festivities of Christmas and the New Year.
Truce?
From the 24th of December to the 3rd or 4th of January, it should be considered an offence against good sense and good feeling to write or expect any letter or communication that does not deal with the necessary events of the moment.
Hear, hear.
Answers to invitations, arrangements about trains, renewal of club subscriptions, and, of course, all the ordinary everyday affairs of business, sickness, engaging new cooks, and so forth. These will be dealt with in the usual manner as something inevitable, a legitimate part of our daily life.
Daily life would grind to a halt without them.
But all the devastating accretions of correspondence incident to the festive season, these should be swept away to give the season a chance of being really festive, a time of untroubled, unpunctuated peace and goodwill.
But you would have to make some acknowledgement of presents received, otherwise people would never know whether they arrived safely or not.
Of course.
That's where the system breaks down.
I've got it. Every present that was sent off would be accompanied by a ticket bearing the date of dispatch and the signature of the sender, and some conventional hieroglyphic to show that it was intended to be a Christmas or New Year gift.
Perhaps a tree, or, New Year's. A bottle of champagne, an empty pocketbook?
Details. There would also be a counterfoil with space for the recipient's name and the date of arrival.
And all you would have to do is sign and date the counterfoil, add another conventional... what's it?
Hieroglyphic.
Right. One of those indicating heartfelt thanks and gratified surprise.
Put the thing into an envelope and post it.
But people would consider it too cut and dry, too perfunctory, not the personal touch.
It is not a bit more perfunctory than the present system. I have only the same conventional language of gratitude at my disposal with which to thank dear old Colonel Chuttle for his perfectly delicious Stilton, which we shall devour to the last morsel, and the Froplinsons for their calendar, which we shall never look at.
Unless they propose to come to tea some afternoon.
Colonel Chuttle knows that we are grateful for the Stilton without having to be told so. And the Froplinsons know that we are bored with their calendar, whatever we may say to the contrary.
Just as we know that they are bored with the bridge markers, in spite of their written assurance that they thanked us for a charming little gift.
But what is more, the Colonel knows that even if we had taken a sudden aversion to Stilton, or been forbidden it by the doctor, we should still have written a letter of hearty thanks around it. So you see, the present system of acknowledgement is just as perfunctory and conventional as the counterfoil business would be, only 10 times more tiresome and brain-racking.
Your plan would certainly bring the ideal of a happy Christmas a step nearer realization.
There are exceptions, of course, people who really try to infuse a breath of reality into their letters of acknowledgement. Aunt Susan, for instance, who writes, "Thank you for the ham. Not such a good flavourer as the one you sent last year, which itself was not particularly a good one. Hams are not what they used to be."
It would be a pity to be deprived of her Christmas comments.
But that loss would be swallowed up in the general gain.
Meanwhile, what am I to say to the Froplinsons?
Once again, we must sign off.
And go our separate ways.
But we'll be here.
Again next month.
Let's call it a date.
Tonight's episode, Down Pens, was adapted by Julie Hoverson from a short story by Saki, H.H. Monroe. Sound and mastering by Kimberly Poole of Warped Space. In it, Janetta was played by Tanja Milojevic of Lightning Bolt Theater of the Mind, and Egbert was Will Watt. Cover art by Julie Hoverson. Music by AM Classical. The opening and closing credits used the music of The Entertainer by Scott Joplin, available through amclassical.com, and the opening voices included Glenn Hallstrom, Tanja Milojevic, Gwendolyn Jensen Woodard, Lothar Tuppen, Julie Hoverson, and Carrie Ayers. Russell Gold was the announcer. This is distributed under the Creative Commons Attribution Share Alike Non-Commercial Clauses. Feel free to pass it around, but don't try to make money on it. This is copyright 2011 to Julie Hoverson and Reality Productions.